go towards Copse Corner. Tilbrook then gets the race underway from pole position and will desperately want to keep Kevin Say behind him into Copse Corner, which he has done. So the McLaren will lead. They're 3 abreast in the mid-pack, and this is Darren Leung. He was 5th on the grid. He's going for 3rd already, to the inside of Petrobelli. To the outside was Alex Martin. Leung backed out of it sensibly, I think, with Charles Dawson picking up 1 spot to 6th. The championship leaders having won the season opener at Donington Park. The blue and pink Mercedes gaining ground already in GT4. It looks like Mahiki have held on to the early race lead as they file their way through the Maggots and Beckett sequence for the first time and out onto the Hangar Straight. Century Motorsports are 2nd, so Ravi Ramneed's got ahead of Mark Warren for 2nd in GT4. A punchy start to the race, though, particularly, James, for those at the back of the top 5.
That's it. It's been fairly clean, apart from Petrobelli and Leung having a bit of side-by-side door contact there, so getting their elbows out. But the perfect start for Tilbrook in the McLaren. Does he have the pace now to run away at the front? Let's see. We'll soon find out. Move
up the inside there. Rob Collard getting ahead of Simon Orange. So Rob Collard, who started 8th on the grid, I believe that is now 6th place for the Lamborghini as one of the Astons bounces over the curbs a little bit further back. Thankfully, no major damage done, it would seem, and they continue on their way. They stream down the Sir Lewis Hamilton straight into the quick right-hander at Abbey, and Tilbrook already settling in then ahead of Say, Martin 3rd, Petrobelli 4th, Leung 5th, and Charles Dawson, in fairness, James, looking pretty racy. He's picked up 1 place already. That Mercedes that won at Donington Park last time, they're carrying an extra 30 kilos of ballast in the car this weekend, but at least in the early exchanges, Dawson is putting that behind him and trying to move forwards. Speaking of moving forward, here comes car number 86, and this is a really good opening stint for Chun Chong Ip at the moment. He picked up 2 places on the previous lap to go 14th, and now is on the tail of Matt Topham in the Stella Motorsport Audi. We're more familiar with seeing Topham at the wheel of Aston Martin machinery in the British GT Championship, both GT3 and GT4, but now trying to get to grips with the Audi, which is a completely different car. It's mid-engine, not front-engine. It's going to generate its lap time in a very different way, yeah, good to see that number 86 car is looking competitive. The Bridger Motorsport prepared Honda NSX, a real fan favourite car, that, isn't it, the NSX, and a lot of people watching at home and around the track will be happy to see this car moving forwards.
I think people just love Japanese cars. I think that's what it is. And yeah, the Honda in the speed traps this weekend has looked the quickest. So in a straight line, it's very, very quick. In the corners, in the braking zones, I think that's where it's letting itself down a little bit. So overall lap time probably isn't there compared to the McLarens and the BMWs as such. But yeah, he's got a good run here on the Audi, though. He might be side by side going into Brooklands here.
Well, there's an example of that straight line speed, maybe, because he drags alongside the Audi, gets the inside line into Brooklands, and I think, yeah, he's going to complete the pass. That was pretty textbook into Brooklands corner, and a good example not only of straight line performance, but the fact that he got off the loop really well allowed that move to be possible at the other end of the straight. By James Baldwin about how it's been a clean race so far. I claim no responsibility. Exactly. Not my fault. So far, so good, though, certainly. Definitely for the Optimum Motorsport McLaren. They're 1.5 seconds clear of Kevin Say at the front of the field. Another 1.6 back then to Alex Martin. So Martin, having got past Petrobelli early on, not really being able to get away yet from the Aston Martin, but that was an important move then for Alex Martin to make, because you know, he might have struggled once the race settled down to find a way past the Aston Martin.
You also don't want to be getting unnecessary damage and unnecessary penalties, but a move here going into Stowe, the Aston Martin trying to outbrake the Lambo. Oof.
Petrobelli almost into the back of Alex Martin there. I think Alex wasn't quite sure if he could turn into the corner or not, and Petrobelli therefore still has a chance into the Vale. Is there a gap to the inside? Yes, there is. He's late on the brakes. The Aston Martin goes through. That was a really good bit of racecraft, that, from Giacomo Petrobelli, who is looking to bounce back from that unfortunate collision that he had at Donington Park a few weeks ago. That was a bit of a blot in his copybook, but that was much more like it. Oh, absolutely, yes, especially when you know how rapid and aggressive Darren Leung is capable of being. But yeah, that's another great thing about GT racing. Collard's on the grass out of Aintree, still on the grass, halfway down the Wellington Straight. I'm not entirely sure how he ended up there. He's weaving around to get the dirt off the tyres, and Darren Leung almost sensed an opportunity to get back at him. That, meanwhile, is Simon Orange to the inside of Charles Dawson. That's for 7th position. So, yeah, you sort of predicted this, didn't you, James? You said that it had all been quite sort of well-behaved and calm until this point. As soon as they came across the traffic, all of a sudden, it has ignited. They go either side of the Lotus, and Charles Dawson comes back at Simon Orange. Went straight back to the move. This was Richard Neary doing exactly what I said he'd do, going for every gap available. Manages to nuzzle up the inside of the Audi of Matt Topham, and then there was a bit of a schmozzle between Nick Jones, and I think that was Claude Beauvais, wasn't it? Yes, it was. Jones ending up getting past Topham, mere moments, having traded paint with the Aston Martin. For Mark Warren to try and have a go at getting back ahead of Ravi Ramyeed, but that was a good late lunge. We just caught it in the back of Shot James into the loop, as there, around goes Claude Beauvais. That's a shame.
Where is that? That is Village, the loop?
Yeah,
that's the loop. So I think he's probably got a tank slapper going through Farm, lost it into Village, and yeah, here we go, replay.
So this was a lap ago into the same corner. That's the 25 BMW nipping up the inside of Andrew Howard. Andrew comes back at him into the loop. And, well, rather predictably, paint is traded. And I think that number 25 car is going to go around. John Kearney in the Century Motorsport BMW. That looks worse than it is. There's nothing really at that point Andrew Howard can do to avoid running into the side of the spinning BMW. This is what happened to Beauvais. He's battling with Nick Jones, James. And, well, they both seem to go for the same bit of racetrack at the same time.
From that angle, it looks like the Aston went for a very late move that was always going to sort of, the door was always going to shut.
We're hearing we may be about to go full course yellow. Yes, prepare for full course yellow, says the timing screen. Now, this is an advantage to anyone who were to dive into the pit lane right now, because the cars now have to slow down to full course yellow speed just as Johnny Adam is released from the pit lane. This, I think, is a big advantage to Blackthorn, because Gertz is stuck there on the exit of Luffield corner going at full course yellow pace. Johnny Adam can rejoin the pit lane, and I think this is going to hand the position to the Aston Martin.
I'm just looking to see where Tilbrook is on the track, because this is, as you say, it's the perfect time to box.
At Luffield, I think he's heading to pit entry.
Oh, there we go. This could be huge for the McLaren, just to build that gap as the leader. So when Marvin gets in the car, he's got a bit more of a buffer to play with back to the Aston and the Mercedes.
And there he is, right on cue, as is Rob Collard. So not a huge surprise. That couldn't have landed better. And this is that lottery element, isn't it? That we weren't, some of the teams like, some of the teams don't like. If you could be on the right side of it, then...
How did Collard catch Tilbrook so much? The gap was 6 seconds, and now he's right on him.
Actually, yes, I hadn't clocked that, so I wonder whether maybe Tilbrook's had a drama there. There is the reason for the full course yellow. And the number 3 car then, which we saw pull over to the side of the road. I believe Bryn Lucas has an update for us on what happened to car number 3.
Yeah, thanks very much, Andy. I can tell you that it had a spin and then went into limp mode. So they're on a power cycle at the moment, trying to get it back up to normal mode, normal race mode. So they are expecting to get it up and running. It's just going through a bit of a moment where they're on that Control-Alt-Delete phase.
I believe everybody has caught up to the safety car queue. There's quite a few, actually, of those more recent stoppers who I think are still trying to make their way around the track. And there's drama here for Mahiki. That's the 69 car that stopped at pit entry. So the 69 Mahiki Lotus, that was the second of the Mahiki Lotus in the running order, has stopped in pit lane. That won't stop the race from resuming, though, because it's off the track. And that's exactly what is happening now as Marvin Kirchhofer leads the field across the line. It's Hugo Cook, of course, now in second place. That number 1 car did not pit as the other Barwell car did, and there's contact, and off goes the 18. Maximilian Gertz was elbowed out of the way and has that damaged the 2C's Mercedes. He's coming back on the circuit. I'm not convinced he's at full racing speed, maybe just feeling the car out. It was Marcus Clutton up the inside making a bold move against the 18 machine. It's Kevin Say, of course, sorry, back in 18, isn't it? So they're actually a lap down, I believe, on the cars they were around, and Marcus Clutton was not hanging about.
How their race has come undone in the space of 20 minutes. They were literally on the heels of the leader, maybe on for an undercut, and just one badly timed FCY. Now they're at the back of the pack, fighting with cars, getting involved in contact. It's just funny how it goes.
Well, he's up the inside, and Say sort of turned in. What's your take on that?
He was alongside the McLaren, and I think Kevin maybe just turned in on him a little bit. Maybe didn't see he was there. It can be quite hard at times. The visibility in these cars isn't always great. So, but yeah, still going though, isn't he?
Oh, the Ferrari from 5th position as well. So Matt Griffin, who had been doing really well in the top 5, he's off down at the club chicane, and that is a real shame. Now that's going to need recovery. That will surely be another full course yellow to get that car back out of the way. The team manager of car 78, by the way, summoned to race control. That's Barwell Motorsport, the car that made that extra pit stop, remember. Alex Martin's back in the car, but team manager's been summoned to race control. That is, as you alluded to earlier on, James, never usually a good sign, and that could be another drama heading towards one of our contending cars.
Yeah, and as you say, Mark Lemmer summoned to race control. Do you reckon they'll be more lenient with him as his birthday?
Oh, I doubt it very much.
No, do you not think that comes into it?
I don't think that will at all, no. Full course yellow is out, as we anticipated would be the case, and so the pace slows down once again. Well, the saying goes, yellows breed yellows, and unfortunately that was rather the case there. Not entirely sure how Matt Griffin ended up in the gravel trap down at the Club Chicane, but Matt, who was a class champion in British GT all the way back in 2003, his debut season in the championship, he's finished top 5 in the British GT Championship on 4 separate occasions. This, though, is how his latest appearance in the championship potentially ended. He got nearied, I'm afraid. Sam Neary to the inside into club, and the Ferrari just lazily drifted backwards into the gravel trap and got very much stuck in the gravel trap. The marshals now needed to push it out of the way. Sam Neary, well, we were just saying they were getting themselves back into it. That bit of contact they could have done without. And Sam Neary then with a decent advantage. And actually, it's the number 18 lapped car, isn't it, that's second in queue. So the third car in line is actually second position. The car to watch, though, I think is going to be that red and black BMW, isn't it, as Darren Leung tries to go up there and challenge maybe for the race lead. Is it a clean run through Copse Corner this time? So far, so good. There goes the 7 Blackthorn Aston Martin of Giacomo Petrabelli. He's got Simon Orange in the McLaren not far ahead. They cycle then through Maggots and Beckett's. There, the leading GT4 car is overtaken by Rob Collard in the number 1 Barwell Lamborghini. And Rob has got that 42 Mercedes right behind. So through all of this, 42 have put themselves up there with the likes of Optimum and Barwell, haven't they? So they're not out of this yet.
Coming back into it, and without the use of the wave bar, which we talked about earlier, it's put some big gaps between the GT3s as they've had to carve their way through random bits of GT4 traffic on this restart. So an extra challenge for all of them out there right now.
The race leader, Sam Neary. James, that's not a huge surprise, I don't think, is it?
No, we were talking about it earlier. It's all right having the risky sort of mindset, but if you do go too far, that's what happens. You get damage or you get a penalty in this instance. So you've got to find that balance between being fairly assertive, but not, too much.
Here is that assertive move. Ricky, you, as you mentioned, had a stint in the British Touring Car Championship. That looks familiar, doesn't it?
I tell you what, it was late. It's hard, mate, because when you commit in these cars, they've got ABS, so you you physically can't stop it. It's a horrible feeling when you've kind of gone in a bit deep, as you know yourself, and it's like it's not like a
passenger.
Yeah, an old car where you can then bang it down the gears a bit harder. These cars have all got technology of flappy paddles, ABS, traction control. There's not a lot you can really do, unfortunately. So I do feel sorry for him. But I'll tell you one thing that's really interesting. 7.5 seconds he's pulled out.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's quick. Yeah.
If even though they have got this penalty, I'm sure this won't be the last safety car we're going to see. They're going to bunch him back up again, and both the Nearys are looking pretty quick out there.
They are indeed. Back to the battle then for third position. Bateman, Leung, Castellacci, and there's a fourth car now starting to join the party. That is Morgan Tilbrook, who led, remember, throughout his first stint of the day. Tilbrook is the second highest placed car that's made two pit stops. So he's on the same strategy, roughly, as Darren Leung in the BMW. The fact that Darren's getting sort of boxed in behind the number 19 Aston Martin is playing right into the hands of the Optimum McLaren. There goes Sam Neary. He's been released from the penalty box, back underway, and the Team ABBA Racing Mercedes AMG will rejoin the race, but behind this battle. So this now means they're actually fighting, James, for a position inside the podium places. Oh no, that's 84. That is 84 from the lead of GT4. We'll get back to that, Ricky. 84 off. That looks like it's on the exit of Farm. It's a long way off the road, and the car that has been dominating in GT4 so far is off the circuit, going no further. This surely is going to be another full course yellow, but what on earth has happened there?
Well, just having a brief look, there looks like there's a bit of door mirror there. There's cars still going side by side in potentially a yellow flag zone as we see the Merc there going down the inside. Is that a yellow flag in there, or is it green? I'm not sure, but...
Well, if it was yellow, that will be a penalty. It doesn't matter whether it's a lapped car that you are passing. You are not allowed to overtake in the yellow flag zone. We are being told to prepare for a full course yellow. There is the full course yellow.
And there you see another take.
Oh, yeah, the 42. It's all got very, very congested because the Jolt McLaren, the GT4 McLaren, had seen the yellow flags and the full course yellow boards, and some of the GT3 cars had not. I fear that we have not seen our last penalty for yellow flag infringements in this race. Well, before it all kicks off in the pit lane, Ricky, which I'm sure it will in a moment, we thank you for joining us. What are you going to head off and do for the last hour of the race?
I'm going to stay as far away from Peter Daly for the next 10 minutes because he's going to have his hands full. But no, it's just really nice to come along enjoy the British GT, and like I say to any of the fans that are watching, it is a great event. It really is special, and you know, I'm just going to go and enjoy myself, go and have a little bit of a watch, maybe have a beverage, and I'll be back at work tomorrow morning.
Have one for us, Ricky. Ricky, thank you so much for joining us in the commentary box. It's been an absolute pleasure. Ricky Collard, everyone, then.
Yeah.
I have to say, the 20 minutes or so that he spent up here in the commentary box were absolute carnage. So maybe if we ever do have a quiet British GT race in the future, that's the trick. We'll bring Ricky in on commentary. That seems to ignite the race. And, well, ignite it absolutely has, James. I can't really quite believe what we're seeing. We're just into the second half of the race. A third full course yellow. And it's for the 84 car of all cars. Never saw that coming. 91 is in. Out of the race, though, is 84. That I did not see coming.
Neither did I. I think that's a crucial pit stop for the 991 car, or the 91 car, sorry, because that's their third driver change.
Correct.
And in theory, they won't have to make any more stops, but there's 1 hour, 18 minutes to go, so there's no way they're getting to the end.
Yep.
So they might have to come in and do a driver stint reset with around 15 minutes to go, something like that, which will be quite interesting.
Yes, provided they're not going to go over the maximum driver time for Dan Harper, he can stay until the end of the race. But as you said, no more than 65 minutes at a time. He can come into the pit lane, stop in the pit box, and then go again. That would reset his driver time. He doesn't necessarily have to get out of the car. So, Mahiki Racing's 3-car effort looks as though it's down to a 2-car effort, and this perhaps the most high-profile exit of them all, and something's already broken on the left rear, James.
Suspension, does it? Maybe one of those ball joints that took the Lotus out potentially.
Very good point. Very good point. We did say, didn't we, that that would be a concern for the team.
Nothing the driver can do there, though.
No, and of all the places for it to happen as well, that's one of the fastest corners on the track, out of Abbey, into Farm. Luckily, there's lots of runoff area, but that, I'm sure, would have caught his attention.
Yeah, not ideal, but it might well not be one of the ball joints, just speculation. Yeah. But, yeah, 2 of those Mahiki Lotuses out. It's just such a shame. They're so quick, but they seem to struggle to make the end, which is whether it's their fault or not. Last time they got taken out by the Aston Martin in Donington, and this time it seems to be mechanical failures.
On track, that's the Team Parker Porsche, nipping to the inside of Richard Neary. That's not for position. That was Sven Muller unlapping himself. Sven is a full lap down, I believe, more than a lap down in actual fact on the race leader, but going quickly as you'd expect for someone of Sven Muller's ability. Richard Neary then still runs in second place. He's got a 5-second margin over Andrew Howard now, who, remember, he overtook not that long ago. There is Kirchhofer. Well, I said that this car was picking its way back into contention, but it may well now be destined for the pit lane one more time.
Isn't it crazy that despite the lap records in quali and the race, they're still only 6th? It just shows you raw pace does not matter in a race like this. It's all about the other stuff, the pit stops, the penalties, the getting the procedures right. Unbelievable how many cars and teams have got the pit stops wrong today, short pit stops. You know, given there's a timer in the car and they've done it many times before, a lot of teams falling short in that area, which to me is quite surprising. I've not seen it this bad before, actually.
I wonder whether it's just the chaos and the confusion of all of the, you know, the multiple pit stops, the strategy going out of the window, trying to react on the fly to these new regulations with the maximum stint times, all that sort of stuff.
But the 74 car, 21 seconds short.
Well, that's a lot, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, that's so maybe there was a technical issue with their timer or something. You know, that's a lot. 1 second I can understand.
Yeah.
You try and get as much time out of the pit stop as possible. You can be a bit cheeky. Same with the full course yellow. You can push it to really get those final few tenths, but 21 seconds, that's yeah.
Yes, that is quite the oversight.
Definitely a three-way fight.
We're going to see a replay here of that infringement. James, we saw this happening live. This is the moment. The yellow flags are out. Full course yellow has been called, and he nips up the inside of the 37 car. And they were out for the yellow flags are displayed for about 10 seconds before the full course yellow is displayed. So that was the moment the full course yellow was called. The yellow flags were actually waving for quite some time before that.
Yeah, and if the GT4 McLaren was super early to get down to FCY speed, it could have caught the 42 out, so it didn't have to be his fault. But yeah, he's boxing. This is the penalty.
Right then, where is Dan Harper? Dan Harper is halfway down the Wellington straight, so he's a couple of corners away. He, at the start of the lap, was 21.2 seconds behind Kian Jewis, who is serving that drive-through penalty. Down the pit lane, he trundles. This will seem like an age. Here comes Harper off Luffield. It's going to be nip and tuck this, and it could be decisive for the race. Dan Harper pushing on.
Car 12 has a drive-through penalty for a pit stop infringement. Car 12, drive-through penalty.
That's the Team Parker Mercedes in GT4. We'll cover that in a moment. Here comes Harper. I think he might get past Dewis. Yes, he has. That was Dewis's roof I saw still in the pit lane exit. Harper goes through fractionally ahead of Dewis by a second or so. The BMW man has gone through those couple of quick laps that he did where he was setting personal bests a few laps ago. That has netted him the race lead. Now, though, he has to hang on to it. Dan Harper leads then for Paradigm competition in the 91 BMW. And Kian Dewis in the number 42 2Cs Mercedes is in second position. Marvin Kirchhofer 7 seconds behind Dewis, but that is now, within 10 seconds of Harper. So
1.5 seconds quicker on the last lap than both of them.
Wow, that is impressive. And of course the leaders have been in traffic on this lap. Now yes, Kirchhofer will also have to negotiate that traffic, but if he catches them on a straight, whereas the leaders were catching them through the corners, that is another advantage to the Optimum McLaren, which has 25 minutes to try and overhaul about a 9-second deficit to the leader, and en route to the leader, overtake the Mercedes. That's going to be the thing that decides the race, isn't it? When he gets to Dewis, how quickly can he get through? Just never know. If Dewis has half a sniff of this, he'll go for it.
Exactly that. But it's, you know, it's not Harper's first rodeo, is it? He's won this race before 2 years ago, I think, if I'm not wrong. So he's been in this position before. It's another day at the office, you could say. Dewis newer to GT3,
yep.
But he is the one on the attack, so it's a bit easier when you're the one on the offense. So we'll see.
Drive-through penalty for car 86. That's the NXS. We'll not worry too much about that. They're deep in the order, 12th place at the moment. 1.4 seconds the lead gap. 7/10 quicker last time was Dewis. He's on the charge. He's going to go for it. He's got 10.5 minutes of the Silverstone 500 left to try and make something truly extraordinary happen and bounce back from the penalty to claim the race victory. He's arriving with momentum, isn't he, as well? And that's key in a situation like this. What he doesn't want is to get stuck behind the 91 car in that dirty air, lose the momentum. He's got that momentum at the moment, needs to keep it up. It's the one we expected them to be chasing all afternoon long. It's just not quite panned out that way. And Century Motorsport versus Optimum Motorsport is the battle that we have, at least in Silver Cup. A minute to go. The leaders are going to be starting their final lap very shortly. And that lead gap coming down then potentially to back within a second now. We'll have to see what it is when they actually get to the timing line. There is 27, by the way. This is the Silver Am leader in GT3. So I mentioned Tom Wood's 97 Aston Martin that's about to go a lap down. Well, he is second in the class. But Darren Burke in the 27 Audi that he shares with Matt Topham, they've had a pretty quiet day, I'd say, James. And that's exactly what you need on a day like this. And it looks like a class win may be their reward. What about the overall fight for victory, though? It's 3/4 of a second as we start the last lap.
They've got one GT4 they might catch in Abbey, but I think if that goes well, I mean, this is really close now, though, isn't it? Within 7/10. So he's managed. Maybe Harper made a slight mistake, but this is the last lap, and he's weaving to try and get him away from out of the tow there. So one GT3 ahead, one GT4 that's slightly ahead of the Aston. So let's see what happens.
Well, this is as close as Dewis has been. I don't think he's been within 7/10 before, just struggling to get the car around Stowe. Now they head into a braking zone at the club chicane, and Dewis will be as late as he dares. He visibly is later on the brakes than the BMW. Do you know what? If he has a good run through Abbey, he might just be close enough to put the pressure on through the loop. That could be the moment that settles the race. I don't think they're going to catch any lap traffic here. It's a straight fight between Dan Harper and Kian Dewis for the Silverstone 500 victory. The time has ticked down to 0. The checkered flag awaits for one of these cars to claim victory in British GT's biggest race. There is a GT4 McLaren they will have to lap as Dewis sends it into Village. Is there a gap up the inside into the loop? He's too far back.
Ooh.
He thinks about it, tries to fill the mirrors of Dan Harper's BMW. They are nose to tail as they head through Aintree for the final time. Where and when do they catch this McLaren? It's going to be almost into the braking zone at Brooklands, isn't it? Harper's closing in. He'll be flashing the lights furiously. Nips to the inside, and that could have done the job. In fairness there, Jack Brown stays well out of the way. Wanted no part in that. Second place in GT4 is safe for him. Dan Harper, though, I think has done just enough in what has been a far more nail-biting finish than at times we thought it would be. Dan Harper and and Paradigm Competition will win the 2025 Silverstone 500. The winning margin was under 0.6 of a second to Kian Jewis in the 2Cs Motorsport Mercedes, which gave it everything to try and steal the victory away. Marvin Kirchhofer will leave Silverstone as a double lap record holder, but only the third step of the podium for Optimum Motorsports McLaren after that really good effort from him charging through in the early part of the stint. But it is BMW on top in GT3, and it would appear, James, it's going to be the same story in GT4.
Absolutely, yeah. The 91 car, not the fastest, but they were the masters of the strategy, and so were the 42 as well, 2Cs Motorsport. Both teams doing an amazing job with the strategy, so hats off to both.
And indeed to Century Motorsport as well, who look like they're going to get not only 2 cars on the podium in GT4, but potentially a double race win, although Salkeld is only 1.4 seconds ahead of Hopkinson. They've crossed the line though, so it doesn't matter. They've seen the checkered flag already. So Chris Salkeld has already won the Silver Cup element of GT4. He has netted 3rd place in GT4. And Charlie Robertson, actually one of the few GT4 cars who hasn't seen the checkered flag now. So far ahead was he.
A nice victory lap for him.
Yeah, exactly, and he's all on his own as well. He gets the spotlight shone on his shiny number 71 BMW, which is shiny because it stayed largely out of trouble really all day in what's been a race of attrition elsewhere. Century's BMWs have run flawlessly in GT4, and Charlie Robertson will bring the car home in just a few moments to claim a victory in the GT4 ranks, and that will really help them in the context of the championship as well, of course. They were second last time at Donington behind the number 90 car. Well, they're going to reverse that score here at Silverstone, so that's already shaping up to be a very, very close championship battle between 71 and 90. A GT4 class that many people predicted would be dominated by Lotus. In the end, it is BMW on top. Century Motorsport win in GT4, and a brilliant drive from Ravi Ramyeed and Charlie Robertson. Faultless drive, really, from the 71 pairing. They managed the pit stops. They didn't pick up any penalties. No on-track dramas, and Century Motorsport quite rightly can celebrate that down in the pit lane, and they will be absolutely thrilled with the way that their afternoon has gone. And it was a good day to be a BMW driver as they claim victory in both classes. Dan Harper and Darren Leung become 2-time Silverstone 500 winners. It's time for Paradigm Competition's BMW squad. 2Cs Motorsport, Kian Jewis and Charles Dawson second. Under 0.6 of a second between them. Morgan Tilbrook and Marvin Kirchhofer were third, ahead of Blackthorn's Aston Martin in fourth, and the Orange Racing by JMH McLaren in fifth. The best of the Barwell cars were sixth, ahead of Paddock Motorsport, and the second Barwell car, number 78 in eighth, then Stella Motorsport and Team ABBA Racing complete the top 10. In GT4, again, BMW on top, Century Motorsport getting 2 cars onto the GT4 podium. The 71 example of Ravi Ramyeed and Charlie Robertson winning overall, with Mark Warren and Jack Brown's Optimum McLaren second, and then Brandon Templeton and Chris Salkeld coming home in third position were also the victors in the GT4 Silver Cup, narrowly 1.5 seconds only ahead of Harry George and Luca Hopkinson, who were fourth overall in GT4 and second in GT4 Silver. Jamie Orton and Will Burns completing the top 5 and a Pro-Am podium. And then further back, those that had issues, shall we say, and there were plenty of them, perhaps most high profile of them all, that 84 Mahiki racing car of Josh Miller and Aidan Neat, which qualified on pole by a country mile, looked as though they were going to disappear off into the distance, and then had that failure out on circuit that took them out of the race. They weren't the only contender to hit big trouble like that, but 84 and the whole Mahiki squad will have to try and bounce back